Hi guys, hold on for a second. Before we proceed to the video, I have something very important to tell you. Professor Jon V. Kofas has published his new book in collaboration with Little French Media, and the title of the book is Neoliberalism, Inequality, and Authoritarianism. This book details how neoliberalism impacts the geopolitical economy in the 21st century. You can buy it from Amazon and the link is in the description. Thank you. Now let's proceed to the video.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an overview, a summary discussion of a video which I did some time ago about the American institutional popular support for Israel, um, especially during this very critical period of nearly 1 year of a genocidal war in Gaza, which is now expanding into Lebanon and destabilizing the entire region. We have heard this week a number of world leaders and foreign ministers at the United Nations in New York about how concerned they are regarding this destabilization that Israel, behind which is the United States and a number of Western countries, is causing. The death tolls rising both in Palestinian lands as well as in Lebanon. The question when I did this video, the question, of course, just a few weeks ago, the question was, why is it that there has been such historic support for the state of Israel? The state of Israel was founded in 1948. The United States, during the Truman administration, he was the president back then, Harry Truman, recognized the state of Israel. This was 1 year after the Truman Doctrine was announced, was promulgated. Basically, the United States stating to the world that Greece, Turkey, and Iran, if you run a line, geographic line across those countries, the State Department called them the Northern Tier, protecting just north of that were communist countries, protecting the Middle Eastern oil fields to the south of that, very important for the United States, and energy. So the source of energy remains very, very significant to the world economy, obviously. The question, of course, with regard to broader support for Israel was that the U.S. would use Israel as a frontline state against the more suspicious um, Arab states that look to Moscow for leadership. Although, of course, history has proved that, with the exception of the Nasser regime of Egypt, really the Middle East has stayed loyal to the West. And Nasser wasn't necessarily pro-Soviet. He was non-aligned. He was one of the leaders of the non-aligned movement. Not that that was that significant, very significant, but the U.S. was against them as well. The question of institutional and popular support for Israel is a very complex one, considering that the population of Jewish Americans is very small, and Jewish Americans are no different than any other people. They're heterogeneous in terms of ideology, politics. They have various views with regard to the Zionist state, which has been practicing apartheid policies that is beyond dispute, by the way, no matter the beguiling rationalizations that come out of the pro-Zionist groups. It's an apartheid state, just as South Africa was denying that it was an apartheid state. Israel has been denying it's an apartheid state, but it is an apartheid state. Israel has had a long-standing policy of securing as much land at the expense of Palestinians and basically trying to push Palestinians out of their own land through various means, from war to illegal settlements. That's a matter of record, beyond dispute. It doesn't matter what um, uh, the propaganda and the nonsense about Palestinians, which number, by the way, which numbers 6 million or so, are terrorists, from an older person to the last baby. The reality is that Israel has always had a consistent policy of securing as much land for the Zionist state, for those who are loyal to the Zionist state, and getting rid of the population that was there when they arrived, and were in fact welcomed when the Europeans would and the rest of the world would not welcome them. Now, there are various reasons why about less than 2% of the population has such enormous policy impact in domestic and foreign, especially foreign affairs. One is obviously the Israeli lobby. Everybody points out, oh, it's the Israeli lobby. It's not just the Israeli. The Israeli lobby is very powerful. I don't want to minimize its role. It pays out a lot of money. It buys candidates. It pays out a lot of money, but there are other lobbies, and there are also billionaires and multimillionaires who give money, who also believe in the Zionist cause, that are not necessarily related to the Israeli lobby. Um, well, another reason, besides the lobby, which finances political campaigns for both political parties, by the way, another reason is the inordinate influence of Wall Street in public policy in the United States, no matter at what level, no matter whether it's domestic or foreign policy. Wall Street has enormous influence. And the segment of Wall Street that especially has influence in foreign affairs are the defense contractors, but also related industries, everything from high tech to banks. So that's another reason that there is institutional support. I'm also going to mention the media, because the media, it's no secret, from the New York Times to CNN to Fox News, all of it, doesn't matter whether it's liberal or conservative, it is consistently pro Israel. As the late Edward Said, an American Palestinian university professor, Columbia University, pointed out in his book on Orientalism, the Western media, and specifically the US media, has had historically a bias against Palestinians. They don't even consider their point of view, they give them very little coverage. They view the war and the events in Israel from the perspective of the Zionist state of Israel, not from the perspective of the victim, namely the Palestinians, who are readily dismissed as terrorists. There is the generalization. The term terrorist, of course, is a generic term that has been ubiquitously used since 9/11. Countries around the world call terrorist anyone they don't like, anyone who is against them. So a terrorist for the Chinese may not be a terrorist for the Russians. A terrorist for the Iranians may not be a terrorist for Israel. So you have basically every country defining its own terrorists. And just for the record, the Zionists who went to Palestine were also, by the way, labeled terrorists by the British colonial government. They did engage in random acts of violence. So that is that. Now, the popular support for Israel is widespread. Now, it's obviously lost its steam during those almost 1 year war since October 7th, 2023. But it is true that the West has more sympathy for Israel than the entire world, the rest of the world. Okay. There is a lot of sympathy for Israel. One reason for that is because of the media, but it's not just the media, it's all of the institutions that are Christian Zionists, by the way. Noam Chomsky's thesis about Christian Zionism is a very valid thesis. Noam Chomsky has spent quite a bit of time thinking about the underlying causes for the institutional popular support of Israel in the United States. And he's right that there are Christian Zionists. There are the evangelicals, for example, are very much on the corner in the corner of the Zionist state. I invite you to watch the whole video. It's analytical. It covers quite a bit of material. Please write comments as questions. We answer them, and please join the this channel. This is an educational channel. My very good friend Asad Ali manages the channel. He has a variety of very informative videos. We would like to have you on board and to have you actively participating. Thank you very much for watching.